Well, good afternoon and welcome. I'm Julie Chabdi, the Associate Director for the Health and Wellbeing Program with the WorkWell Center and your host for today. In support of May Mental Health Awareness Month, we are excited to have you all here for the Courage to Go Forward 5-week webinar series sponsored by the WorkWell Center's Healthy Campus Mental Health Subcommittee. The goal of the series is to raise awareness about mental health, reduce stigma, and provide support and community. Over the next 50 minutes, our speakers will be sharing their expertise around this very important topic, sharing support resources, and engaging you in conversation. Throughout the session today, you're welcome to use the chat function or the Q&A function to make comments, ask questions, and we'll answer your questions throughout. We'll also have a few minutes at the end for live Q&A, as well as sharing the evaluation form for all of you to fill out and some raffle prizes. Please make sure you mute so we don't hear any background noise, and we'll go ahead and get started. So last week you heard about what spiritual well-being is, mindfulness, meditation, and self-compassion. You can view that recording of that wonderful session on our website. Today we'll hear from speakers who are directly involved with work at USC that provides a culture of care and community for our students, faculty, and staff. You'll learn ways on how to create peer support and a sense of belonging, inclusion, and how to get involved in these efforts. Now I'd like to introduce our 3 speakers for today. Please join me in welcoming Tiffany Nakamura, Clinical Instructor of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences, Clinician Educator, Caregiver of Emotional Wellbeing Program Coordinator of Keck School of Medicine at USC. Dara Weinraub, Program Manager for the Care for the Caregiver, Keck Medicine of USC. And Eileen Rosenstein, Associate Vice Provost, Campus Wellbeing and Education. So let's get started. But before we do, I'd like to invite you, as always, to do a quick stretch break with me. And you can feel free to move, stretch, stand in any manner that feels best for you. So let's start by doing some shoulder rolls, sitting up straight, or if you're standing straight, feet planted on the floor, chest lifted. Let's do some neck exercises, keeping your shoulder down and bending one ear to your neck. And then bending your neck to the other ear, one ear to shoulder is what I meant to say. Great, back to center and reaching your arms all the way up and just stretching, reach as high as you can. And then let's shake out our hands, shake out our fingers. Thank you so much for participating in that brief stretch break. Now I'd like to turn it over to Tiffany.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tiffany Nakamura. Thank you for that introduction. I was originally planning on giving this presentation with my program director, Dara Weinraub, who unfortunately is unable to make it with us today. So it's just myself going over the program as planned. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Just jumping on in, talking a bit more about empathy in the workplace and cultivating some support in this community through empathy itself. So just diving right in, empathy and defining what empathy is. It is the action of understanding and being aware of another person's feelings and emotions. Empathy is the ability to just simply step into someone else's shoes and to feel and understand their needs. And to better understand this concept, I do have a short video that I'd like to share with you all to kind of illustrate this idea further. Next slide and video.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy: perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth, staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do, recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you can climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with "at least." Yeah. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
And so kind of wanting to highlight the importance of empathy and really kind of using this skill as a lead into our peer support program and ways to cultivate community, ways to cultivate connection within our community here at USC. As shared in the video, the importance of empathy, it's really kind of key to that connectivity. It's a very important social skill and something that facilitates connection with each other. It allows us to, not only connect with people, but to foster or cultivate a healthy relationship. Empathy encourages us to respect and care for another, which is essential in a community where we would like to cultivate kindness and support for each other. Empathy encourages us, to show compassion, understanding for others, kind of taking perspective, and helps make our communities just a better place to live and be. And lastly, effective leaders are empathetic. So I know we have a wide variety of different people from all walks of life joining us today. And so really kind of emphasizing empathy is a skill and a necessary skill to be effective just in general, to cultivate connection, but also to help be leaders. Next slide, please. And so this concept of empathy is particularly emphasized in our peer support program. We at the Care for the Caregiver program oversee and operate our peer support program across CAC and USC. And this is meant to help affect workplace culture, help with health behavioral outcomes, and also improve general employee health. We have research to support peer support interventions contributing to workplace culture where it increases care for others and support. We have research to support worksite peer support, focusing on changing and improving specific health-related behaviors. And then lastly, it's been recognized as a way to help just improve overall health. And so we can move to the next slide. More specifically,
Oh, there you go.
Thank you. I was like, oh no. So more specifically, the research has sort of highlighted a few of the following points. It's been shown to actually impact sick leave. A study that focused on sort of looking at outcomes around sick leave actually saw that peer support decreased sick leave taken when addressed around this issue of low back pain and helping people to manage that differently through peers dealing with the same struggles. Results also indicated that peer support interventions help decrease general sick leave between upwards of 7 and 4% reductions, respectively. Excuse me, I think I have a slightly different setting on my end here. But in contrast, the control group's sick leave was observed to increase 7% sick leave comparative to the intervention group. Excuse me. That was a little complicated, a little discombobulated, but generally speaking, peer support has helped to decrease sick leave time versus a control group. And then lastly, workplace intervention appear consistent with results from general peer support literature. A lot of the workplace literature where peer support is given oftentimes is not just around sort of in healthcare workers settings, but just in general corporate settings and that sort of thing. But when we're talking about Keck, USC, a lot of our settings are healthcare specific. And so what we're finding is these workplace interventions are also consistently beneficial even in healthcare settings as well. Next slide, please. And so here at Care for the Caregiver, we offer a number of different programs that are meant to support our faculty, staff, and our healthcare workers through a number of different ways. The second to the top being our peer support program. So if you are interested in engaging in that more, please feel free to reach out to myself or Dara at our Care for the Caregiver website using our QR code or emailing us. But we offer, as I said, a number of different programs, including a study specific to look at healthcare worker burnout. It's called the Thrive Study. We offer Schwartz Rounds, which is specifically meant to support and provide an empathic space for people to share their stories and to gain support and validation from others. We do have a free emotional support hotline. It is non-crisis, but it is manned by licensed trained counselors to offer in-the-moment support and then connecting to additional resources. We also offer support groups, debriefs, cumulative stress debriefs, check-ins as needed and just as requested for individuals as well as teams. We cater to different units and offer different workshops with different topics, including stress management, mindfulness strategies. The list sort of goes on and can be sort of personalized to your needs. We have a massage therapy program where we bring free professional masseuse to your unit or your area of work, where we offer free 10-minute massages, chair massages to kind of work out those knots. And then we offer Keck Kindness, which is a financial support kind of program for those experiencing any kind of hardships. And lastly, we have a cart that offers different snacks and fun little beverages to kind of bring a little joy to people in the unit throughout the hospital or in just your general workplaces. Next slide, please. And sort of further elaborating on our peer support program, as I mentioned a little earlier, we're looking for anybody interested in the program because we are aimed to pair peer with peer. A true peer, someone who works in your area of work, who understands what goes into what it is you do on a very sort of personal level. And then we offer the training that goes along with becoming a peer supporter and deploy peer supporters as needed. But it is a great program that cultivates this community of support and care and validation. It is a more informal way to receive support rather than going to therapy, which is always encouraged, but it is a little bit more accessible because sometimes therapy might be difficult to plan or schedule or insurance and this and that. Peer support is there to kind of offer that immediate support with someone that gets it, with someone that understands, the type of work that you do that does it themselves, that can really kind of engage in a way that might be quicker and more accessible than other forms of support. It is a free resource and it is also confidential. On what campus is Care for, across campus, everywhere. I think we're most talked about in the hospital settings, but we are available all across campus. So we've offered debriefs, support, workshops, not just in the hospital settings, but on UPC as well. Great question. And then I believe we're at my last slide, which is just some, oh, excuse me, not at the last slide. Another resource that I wanted to speak about personally is, in addition to my work with the Care for the Caregiver program, I am a therapist in our Keck Outpatient Psychiatry Clinic, where it's a small outpatient clinic. Typically, people who are USC staff, faculty, and their family members who have USC insurance are our main patients of the clinic. It's a pretty small clinic operating in an outpatient capacity, 8 of us total, offering time limited, sort of what we would call medium length sessions, around 14-ish in total. We offer a wide range of treatment modalities and target different sorts of issues. We offer both telehealth and in-person services. And as I mentioned, it is for faculty, staff, family members of them with USC insurance, and a resource, if you were unaware of, is available to you. The wait time, I believe, is actually 1.5 to 2 weeks at this point. It might be a little less, but that was the last time frame I was given. This was maybe a couple months ago. So I think with summer coming, that could be changing a little bit, potentially for the better. Missing any questions?
Great. Thank you so much, Tiffany.
Thank you.
What a great program. And thank you for sharing the highlights with us. Feel free to ask questions in the chat for Tiffany throughout the presentation, but I'd like to move us forward and introduce Eileen Rosenstein, Associate Vice Provost for Campus Wellbeing and Education. Eileen, welcome.
Thank you so much, Julie. Okay, if we can move to the next slide, please. I'm going to go right into it. That's there. I put here crisis of loneliness. The Surgeon General of the United States has said and written a very important paper saying that there's a devastating impact, an actual epidemic of loneliness and isolation in the United States. And I think that's really important. As Tiffany pointed out really well, we're seeking connection, we're seeking empathy, and in our natural environments and our natural communities. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, that this crisis of loneliness is really connected with the sense of what is connection. Many of us are connected all day. We're on, Zoom calls, we're in presentations like this, we're, connected, but we're not having connection. And there's a difference. So all those health benefits that Tiffany spoke about, and much more actually, have been found. And this is why the Surgeon General is saying it is a direct impact to our health and well-being. Next slide, please. So how do we connect? How do we really have connection as opposed to a kind of transactional kind of connect? The first thing it starts is with ourselves. What do we want? What do we want from this other person or this group of people, such as the group of people that we work with all day? 1/3 of your life is spent in work if you're an average American. And so what do we want from these people? And what do we want from these relationships? I had a colleague who was going off to a retreat for 2 days, and she said to me, I love my job, but I can't stand who I work with. And the thought that I'm going to have to be at a retreat for 2 days. Well, what do you think that's doing to her health, to kind of feel this disconnection? And so the question I asked was, what do you want from them? And she said, well, I want them to have my values and what I care about. And I said, I'm wondering on this retreat, if you can kind of bring that up in some way, that let's look at our values. They said they're so transactional, they don't really care about people, and I want to do a culture of care. So we really talked about how do you take the risk, and like Brene Brown talks about very clearly, take that risk of good vulnerability to try and see, I want this, how can I get this in this situation? Next slide, please. So we start with ourselves, and as stated before, we are inherently socially creatures. So what we need in our workplace, and again, this person, talks about it, we want to feel supported in what matters to us, that we're valued, that we're loved. People go, wow, you expect to be loved by your colleagues? Yes, that is important. And a real sense of belonging, inclusion, and a connection to something bigger than ourselves. We're in this together. We have each other's back. We really care about each other. So moving from that transactional to a really caring and transformative relationship, a relationship that makes me better, that makes you better. That's what we're hoping to connect, have that connection with other and create here at USC. Next slide, please. So there are many threats to connection. And I see this at USC. My job is to help teams really have this connection, this really satisfying, meaningful connection. And what we see is there's a lot of competition. Fight on has a different meaning, which is let's compete. Who can be the brightest one here? Who could be the one who shines above everybody else? And that kind of competition does not create that collaborative, respectful, caring kind of community that we're all looking for and actually needing, as the Surgeon General says. So, and sometimes because I see you as an other or different, that it's like, I'm not sure I want to connect. Just like I said about my colleague, it was like they were others. Well, maybe they're not really others. Maybe there is a common goal, which is caring in a certain way that can bring you together, or there's mistrust that has to be taken. Fear, scarcity. Oftentimes I go into communities or teams or to schools, and there's a sense of we don't have enough resources, we're competing with each other, there's scarcity, when in fact there can be abundance. How do we look at that and switch that over? And often the unknown, like there's change happening, what impact will that have on me? And is anyone caring about me and how it impacts me? There's implicit bias and microaggressions that happen often. We do assessments of teams, and oftentimes we find that there are daily kind of missteps that make someone feel like I'm an other, I don't belong. And that's an important sense of I'm a part of this group and I want to be part of this group. And so we really need to look at our socialization and what our culture and climate says of how we should be. So I think that's key when we're looking at these threats is our unit's campus support and intervention really helps deal with those threats in consultations, in workshops, et cetera, to kind of change how in day to day, we really truly live our values, create a truly empathetic and caring environment, which is more important than being efficient, for example. And what we find is when you have these values, and these are ways of really having connection, guess what? Production has been found in hundreds of studies to increase significantly. So this is like the fluoride in the water, if you will. Next slide, please. So what is community? First, you have to have membership. Are you a member? Are you seen as part of this group? And that's an important piece to really look at, like, how do I belong? And so my colleague really felt like she didn't belong in this group. And I really spoke with her about like, okay, let's talk about how you are similar and have similar goals and common care, that together we're identified as a community. And membership could be a hiking club if that's what you value. That's a way of having community. It could be on kind of social groups that you go to. It could be in terms of social justice or political organizations, but how do I become a member and kind of be a piece of this? And that is true particularly for employees. How am I a member of this team, of this school, the university? Another thing being part of a community is that you have influence. And what do I mean by influence? That I can help others, for example, on my team. The example that Tiffany gave is by volunteering or being one of these peers, you're influence people to show there's kindness, there's understanding. I get it. I can hear your pain, at the same time also be compassionate. In communities, we have common purposes. What are we trying to fulfill? What's the need here? What's my need? What's your need? How can we have a win-win? And that we move forward as a community and care for each other. And finally, to have community, you have to have emotional connection. It's not just whereby standing just next to each other, doing something, a skill or whatever. There really needs to be this emotional kind of feeling that comes in the room, that I, with all my identities, can come in and be who I need to be, that there's a good vulnerability, that I can take risk and move and try and really look out for all of us. So next slide, please. So one of the things I want to bring up that we hear from a lot of group is that sometimes people don't feel psychologically safe. And trust is the foundation, this sense of that you have to have the right amount of psychological safety, because that means also giving real feedback that may not always feel good to each other, or recognizing there's a problem. We don't want to do emperor's new clothes, which is, yeah, everything's fine, when actually you're standing naked, right? If you know the story of the emperor with new clothes, he had no clothes. So what we want is realness with each other. And that means that we can share how we see things from our background, from our identities, from our personalities, without retaliation. We can really be open and respectful, and feel that vulnerability. And so when there's a conflict, it's around the task. It's not personal. It's not a relationship contact. So it doesn't feel personal. So in a community and where we develop psychological safety, when there's a conflict, and this is true in terms of your personal life, your professional lives, it's not taken personally. It's like, okay. And if it is going personal, that means you need someone like Campus Wellbeing and Education to come in to kind of work that through. So it creates that trust. How can we take it in a different way and move it from that? And the other thing that with psychological safety is that people are saying things and doing things to move the group forward, not to sabotage. And that's an important thing. Are we moving together as opposed to othering each other or canceling each other or not listening to each other? So this is the kind of message that this whole presentation, whether it's from Tiffany or I, it's like, how do you really listen to each other and create that non-judgment and caring? Next slide, please. So what's your role in creating and building community? Because we all have to do this and take a piece of this part. First, as I said, self-awareness. What do you need? What are your expectations? What do you want from this person? What do you want from your group? just like my colleague, let's think this out. Then how do you share that in a way that's respectful and share the experience of sometimes it feels like we're more transactional than really developing a culture of care? What is that? How do we share that and say, gee, I have felt that too, or that's kind of sharing and taking those risks that are obviously thoughtful, because we don't want you to take a risk in a place that's dangerous for you, but to take that and see what's the shared experience of all of us in this community, what's important to us, and that these values become known and stated and practiced. One of my values I really care about is helping others. And so every day I want to make sure that I'm doing that. It's practice, but not just for me, but in the communities that I am. How do we help ourselves be and each other our best selves? And this is through openness. You have to be engaged. If you're kind of moving back and it's not happening, guess what? It's not going to happen. The community isn't going to be built. And it also, there's lots of studies that by us giving, guess what? We get more back than when we're taking. So that giving to others and being that community focus is important. And so think of ways that you can kind of do these roles and take these steps. Next slide, please. What can USC do? And this is how do we work through community? Well, so one of the things that Campus Wellbeing and Education does in coordination with human resources here at USC is we welcome our new employees through orientation. We have a program called Thrive 101 that new employees, and there are people, we're on the 23rd, I think, cohort group now, 24th, people become friends with people in the cohort group because they share their experience of what it's like to enter a new position and how to do that. We have affinity groups. You heard from basically, I think last week with Allison and maybe Mark on mindfulness, that we have mindfulness affinity groups. These are wonderful communities. We have affinity groups for chairs of departments, of management, where we get together. It's almost like a support group where people, that's my timer saying I have to be done, right? So, right, but we create these affinity groups together. So if you are looking for those kind of groups, come let us know and we can see who can kind of create that. Sometimes it's Workwell who may be able to run that group, or there are parenting groups, or like we have mindful parenting, for example. We go in and work with your team in a natural setting because we want that empathy from each other. We want that validation and love and care. So we work with the group, and sometimes that means there's healing that needs to happen. Sometimes it means that we need the group to really adapt to change that's happening. And sometimes a group is doing okay, but they really want to thrive. They want to help their focus. They want to get that meaning in life. And then I want to just mention USC rituals and celebrations. So we just had a graduation. I don't know how many of you went, but I was so busy, I couldn't even go. And I had students who I taught, I couldn't even go. And interesting, some institutions, colleges of higher education actually closed down the whole university so everybody can celebrate what we're all working for, which is these wonderful advancements of our students. So these are things to think about, what we can do as rituals and celebrations and get together. We have a race, equity, and well-being series that are on Tuesdays. They'll start again in October. We're taking a break for the summer, where people get together. Those are my peeps. Those are my people who get together and we talk about how inclusion and belonging, and find your peeps. Go to these like this today in terms of this, find your groups that you can talk about. So I just, let me just quickly check the chat to see if there's anything that I need to look at. I don't think so. So that's good. And I guess, if you have any questions, please write me on my email or go to our website, and we have a way of you can ask for services and see our services. Thank you for this time.
Thank you so much, Eileen, for that. And you had mentioned wanting an article to be shared, so we put that into the chat. If you want to say a few words about that, you're welcome to.
Yeah, this is how we can really start looking at how do we belong into a community. And what I think I'm really saying to people, it's great that we do yoga, that we do these things to take care of ourselves, but if you're in a toxic environment, it doesn't work. So community is really the fluoride where it protects you. You have people who have your back, that care about you. And there's so much. And so this article really helps you think about, where can I develop that community at work? And again, we have many communities that we belong to.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Eileen and Tiffany. Just so important messages around creating that community of care and collaboration, and just that whole community. It's so important here at USC. So I'd like to turn it over to Cindy to share a few resources that we have here. Cindy.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to hear these messages that resonate with all of us through Tiffany and Eileen. It really is inspirational and gets us going. But this is it. I want to highlight, what can we do in community? I want to address the incredible self-help communities. Wherever you go, whatever issue, whatever concern that you might have, there is a self-help group that is there. And it can be a place of connection. It can be a place of empathy, people truly understanding what it feels like to be in a specific issue, for recovery, for healing, for growth. And so this particular one is NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Ill. They emphasize how being a friend is really the way in which we can establish not only that immediate support, that peer support, that understanding and empathy, but it can also be a resource for education, for families to understand how to support one another and really build on the healing aspects of a community in connection. And so just so you know, the next slide says, this is just a sampling of the helplines that are out there for you. If you know of anyone, if there's family members that are concerned and curious, how do I help a loved one? What do we do to enhance our own well-being? There's a lot of education. So the core of this message is, this is just one of the hundreds of self-help support groups that exist in our community that we can draw upon anytime, any day. And the beauty of Zoom is support groups happen all around the world every day. So reach out and find those that you resonate with that can be part of your community growing forward. So, Julie?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all those resources, Cindy. And thank you all for participating. I did want to share before we wrap up and do Q&A and evaluations and raffle prizes, that our Healthy Campus Social Connection and Belonging Subcommittee, led by Patrick Cates and Glenn Fox, are working on creating special interest groups here at USC. So we're in the process of inventorying what's existing and what we might want to enhance. So these could be different ways for faculty and staff to connect on different kinds of interests, whether it be work-related interests, or maybe a hobby, or something that they have a common bond or connection on. So we're working on that, as well as putting together a list of volunteer opportunities on campus first, and then eventually within a few miles of USC. So more to come on that on our website in the near future. Before we move on, I did want to say thank you to all the presenters. We hope that you've learned different ways to create a culture, connection, and community, and will take some steps in your immediate teams, departments to do so. We have one more session left in our 5-week series. Next Wednesday, we'll wrap up with Coming Forward. And this session will focus on strategies to promote psychological safety and belonging in teams. how to find the right therapists and ways to incorporate compassion and self-care as we go forward. So it's not too late to join. We hope to see you all there, and feel free to invite other colleagues as well. And Cindy, did you want to share this slide with everyone?
Certainly, we know we are bringing forth a lot of information and consciousness and awareness. If you have been activated, or if there's something happening within your world today that you felt would be good to share or connect or talk through, please reach out to us. We have information for the staff for USC Work Well, as well as for students. So, keep these numbers handy. We're all ambassadors for each other to support whenever we might need a safe space to share and talk. So don't hesitate to call.
Great. Thank you, Cindy. We have about 9 minutes left for Q&A. So as a reminder, go ahead and put any questions you might have into the chat or the Q&A function, and we can answer your questions. And while we do so, if you can please fill out our survey, we would love to hear from you and hear your feedback. And you can also have an opportunity to earn a $50 gift card for completing our survey. And your feedback is really, really important to us. So I will see if there's anything in the chat here.
There is a question in the Q&A, Julie, and I think about how can we find affinity groups. So it depends in terms of what you're looking for, because affinity groups can be things like you're a parent, and so some of the roles that you play in life. It could be because of your racial or cultural background. It could be because of gender. So there's a whole host of things that we can talk about as affinity. It could be that you're a faculty member or a chair of a department. So it's hard to know without knowing the specifics of what someone may be looking for. But a way to look at this is campus support and intervention. Is a unit that helps connect people to different resources. And so they can help you with your specific need of depending on what's going on, because it could be that a support group could be very helpful or mental health, as Cindy brought up, that you're talking of an affinity group of people who suffer with depression. So, depending on what it is, we can help you from the campus, support and intervention team can look at that, do that. We obviously have Mindful USC that has different affinity groups depending on, women of color. It could be for parents, it could be for people who are writing and having trouble. So it just depends on what it is. And they can help refer you to the right resource.
Great, thank you for answering that, Eileen. We also have in our health and well-being directory, which is on our Work Well website, we have a list of several of the employee resource groups on campus as well. Is there a cost to participate in the NAMI organization services that you mentioned, Cindy? I think you said they were all free, but do you want to elaborate on that, Cindy?
Yes, they are. Generally, self-help offers free services. There may be a voluntary donation that people will offer, and definitely go and see what you find there. But self-help groups can be a very economical and accessible way to get support. And many of them have hotlines or immediate phone numbers that you can call and ask questions. So it's just worth going and finding out more.
Great. And I have a question for Tiffany. Tiffany, could you expand a little bit more on the peer support program and tell us how the peers are trained? What kind of training do they need to be a peer support?
So to be in the peer support program and before you start actually being deployed to work with other peers, it's a 1-hour training that is given, and then monthly trainings are then asked of to be participated in, but they are virtual. So if you're unable to make it, those materials are sent to you. You can review them at your own discretion. The deployments themselves, maybe 2 a year. And the expectation is, as a peer, you're providing kind of more informal support, the interactions aren't typically longer than 20 minutes, I would say. And so 1 to 2 deployments a year, and these monthly hour-long trainings, again, those are, or I would say maybe half an hour to an hour. They are virtual in nature. And so if you're unable to attend, you are then emailed those resources to review and to keep afloat on the latest kind of training materials.
Thank you for answering that. What a great program. And let's see.
You're welcome,
Eileen.
everyone.
And my team will go ahead and put the link in the chat for the health and well-being. It's a resource directory, and we'll also include that in the post follow-up email as well. So you have the direct link to that. And then Eileen also put in a link for her campus support and intervention. Any other questions? We have a few minutes left for Eileen, Tiffany, or Cindy. Any last minute comments from our presenters to wrap up around this topic?
I guess I just want to say to people, really be intentional about some of the things that you're hearing in this series. I think that thinking this out and really doing good things for yourself is really important, and to take the time, and that USC really wants that message out there, that we want you to take that time. Yeah. And then Lena wrote, what's a good strategy for approaching leadership and how they can set a tone for a caring community? I think it's important to have these conversations, and you can say and start off that you were at this presentation and that there's excellent research that says, kind of why this is so important, and also understand what matters to your leadership, what motivates them. So if production and being really efficient is the most important thing, like in other words, transactions, you can say the research really says this, and can we have this person come in and be a speaker for our team, or have starting these conversations. So that's my thought. Yeah.
Great.
Tiffany, do you have any thoughts on that, or?
No, I do think it starts with a conversation, and a good strategy for approaching leadership is asking for some time to have, discussion around these things that are important to you, and really connecting how cultivating a community of caring could be helpful in your general functioning, and help you be more productive, efficient in your job, just really help others as well. Caring is contagious. And so being able to sort of spread this is, I think, good for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And Priscilla asked, can you take a mental health day? So I'm the Associate VP of Campus Wellbeing and Education, and I will tell you that feelings of feeling low, or any of those kind of mental pieces, is like having a cold. So if you need to take a day off, that's going to kind of be care for you, then I'm encouraging you, that's a health day. That's a sick day, because you're needing something that's there, and you should feel that you have those sick days, because we want you to feel good in life. We want you to have those things. It is important, though, to think about, where is all this coming from? Like why am I, and is there a way to solve it? The problem that may be causing some of these symptoms, or is there something that you just have to let go and grieve? And that's where I think WorkWell, and Cindy could talk more to this, getting some help, to just even briefly figure out where these feelings are coming from, can be very helpful.
Thank you, Eileen. That's really, really ideal, because think about us as a place for a consult. Thinking out loud, how would you want to approach a conversation with your manager? What would be a constructive way to approach that? And to also then gain our support, and then look at other resources. So yeah, we can really fully address, more of that just general holistic approach to what would help you as a person.
Great. Thank you so much, Cindy, Tiffany, and Eileen, for being here. We have a minute left, so Carla will go ahead and share her screen for those who want it to be entered in the raffle, and we'll pick 2 winners to